Alright, what's up everyone? Welcome back. I've got a lot of stuff on this table right now, and it's because tomorrow I leave for the Burning River 100. I'm all packed, and I'm going to go through everything that I'm bringing for a 100-mile race. We're going to be talking about gear, shoes, nutrition, and then I'm also going to be talking about kind of how the last couple weeks have been leading up to the Burning River 100, how my training has gone, what type of interventions I've done, and then finally we're going to talk about my race strategy. And this might be a long video because I'm going to try to cover everything that goes into running a 100-mile race, from the prep through to the execution, as much as I can prepare right before the race. So, with that said, here we go. Alright, so there are 3 bags on the table here, and this is maybe the lightest I've ever packed for a 100-miler, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I will have a crew for this race. I don't always have crews for 100-milers, so I'm very excited to be crewed by actually a brand new company on the scene, Chaos Crewing Company, who is going to be helping me through this whole 100 miles. So I'm very excited about that. I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the strategy section. But these 3 bags right here, this is kind of like my hotel bag that has like my shoes, my clothes, gear, that kind of stuff in it that I need for race morning and then like the following night after. This right here, as it's labeled, is clothes and shoes. And then this bag right here is nutrition and gear. So I've tried to keep everything really separate so it's easy for my crew and also easy for me as I come up to their aid stations. So I'm going to get these out of the way. So first things first, I really love this bag from Solomon. It's got a separate compartment for shoes and clothes. But I always have multiple bags inside of the bag, and this is going to be something that really helps you out if you're looking to pack easier and lighter for races. So inside here, I've got 2 bags plus a towel, and that's it. So this bag is for the night after. So all it has in there is like a pair of shorts, t-shirt, socks. It's got some compression shorts in here, but this is just all the stuff so it can stay separate for the night after the race, so that I know when I'm coming back into the hotel and I'm like super messed up and groggy and maybe hallucinating. But this bag has all the clothes and everything I need for right after the race to keep it really easy and simple. And this bag right here is my morning bag, is what I call it. And I actually got this idea from my friend Jeff Pelletier, who you all probably know on YouTube. And this is a really ingenious way to have everything you need for the race. And once you start pulling things out, you put it on or you use it. And then once the bag is empty, you're ready for your race. So I really love that idea. Shout out Jeff. Thank you for giving me that idea. So we're just going to kind of go through. I'm going to pull some stuff out and show you what we got going on. We'll start kind of from the ground up, I guess. I've got socks. I'm going to be wearing these Darn Tough socks. I really love these socks for 100-milers. I used to kind of wear toe socks, don't anymore. And these kind of like quarter-length crew socks are awesome because it protects from getting a lot of dirt and stuff inside your socks when you're running, because it's kind of hard to get dirt in there when they're a little bit higher. Next up, I've got my shorts. These race shorts that I'll be wearing are from Janji. And these are really awesome because they have 2 layers. So there's an inner layer, which is basically a tight kind of like spandex layer. And also in there are some pockets for some things that if you need to keep real close, like gels or something, you can there. But then also all around the waistband, there are pockets as well so that you can stash gels, anything you want in there. Really love these shorts. They do stay pretty cool even though they're black, and they do dry pretty quick. So I usually don't ever change shorts in the middle of a race, so I do have a backup. We'll talk about that later. But as far as the top goes, I've got this top from Run Rabbit. What's it called? Just Rabbit. But this is a new shirt that I've got. I've worn it a couple times. Really love it. And it's got these ventilation holes on the sides. Really nice. But kind of just like not anything super fancy. It's just a nice white kind of racing shirt, and it dries really fast, and also obviously white because it's going to be hot. So, and then as far as the hat goes, I'll be wearing this normal white hat. It's got a ton of ventilation off to the sides. It's very thin. The brim is super light. It's very, very lightweight. It's a Killian Jornet limited edition, actually. So, didn't know that until I started filming this video. So, that's cool. And then around my waist, I'll be wearing this naked belt, which if you've been watching my videos for any amount of time, you know that I love these naked belts. I've got a bunch of them. And so this goes around the waist, and you can shove a ton of stuff in here. It's really great for holding a GoPro. Here's the GoPro I'll be carrying, the GoPro Hero 11 Black. And then I also have this buff that I'm going to kind of like ball up and put on my wrist, kind of just like this. Because a lot of times when you're running and you're sweating a whole lot, your shirt gets really sweaty, your shorts are really sweaty, and you don't really have anything dry to wipe your face with or your eyes if something gets in them. So this is really great. I can also take this off if I want to, soak it, get water on me, fill it with ice if I need to, and hold on to it. So it's always nice to just have like a multi-purpose tool like this. So that will be on my wrist at the start of the race. And then I have a water bottle that I'll be putting in some Precision Hydration 1500 mix, which is a ton of electrolytes that I'll just be sipping on right before the race. Squirrel's nut butter. And I have this kind of like throwaway headlamp. It's actually going to be donated. But the way this race works is that it starts at 4 a.m. and the first hour or two is going to be in total darkness. And then there's not really a good place to drop off your headlamp before you see crew. Like, you're gonna have to carry it for a while. So what a lot of people do is they just buy like a cheap headlamp for those first couple miles, and then there's a donation bucket, and then they donate them. So that's pretty cool. And then my main headlamp is in my gear box. So that's it. Once this bag is empty, I'm ready to go race. You guys are probably like, what shoes is he wearing? So these are the shoes I'm going to be wearing. These are the Saucony Endorphin Edge. Now these shoes are from last year, but it is still the most current model of the Endorphin Edge. And you might be a little bit surprised when I pulled these out of the bag, because I didn't review them super great the first time around, but they have always been, in my mind, more of a road shoe that can do trails. So that's kind of why I wasn't loving it the first time around. But this race, there's going to be 30 miles of roads, and then the trails are pretty tame, like not much to worry about. So these shoes are, in my opinion, going to be excellent for this race. Just enough grip out there on trails. It's also got a carbon fiber plate that kind of like bounces back as you're running, so it'll provide a little bit of extra energy. So really excited about wearing these shoes. Plus they're pink, so I mean, it's gonna be awesome. So this is my hotel bag. Once everything in here is on me, that means I'm ready to go race. All right, next up, we're gonna be talking about this bag right here, clothes and shoes. I like to keep things pretty separate, so I've got these kind of like plastic bags with stuff in them. So first up, a running vest. I'm not going to be wearing this to start, but I will have it in my pack just in case things go really sideways and I'm in a bad place and I just need a pack with 2 bottles. I will have that available to me. Backup clothes, I do fully expect to change into this tank top at some point. This is kind of the same exact design as the other race shirt I'm going to be wearing to start in. This is also by Rabbit. This is their race tank, so it's all the same material, all the same cuts and everything. So I should be able to stay pretty comfortable in that if I need to switch to a tank top, which I do plan on. And then also in here is some backup shorts, which I know I say that I never change into them, but you never know what could happen out there. We've got this T8 kind of modular system with the base layer and the outside layer. I do really love these shorts as well, but they are just a little bit hotter than the Janji shorts that I'm actually going to be starting in. So, and then there's just a whole lot of miscellaneous extra stuff. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of socks. Probably a little bit over the top, but you know, if my feet are really giving me problems, I do have a crew, so I'm going to be able to change socks real easy. Here is going to be a really important piece of gear, clothing, I think, is the arm sleeves. And these arm sleeves are also SPF 50, so they are basically like wearing sunscreen. So when I put these on, the sun will not be bothering my skin as much, but then also I'm going to be able to shove ice down from each direction. So these are going to be really important as the day heats up. Also along those lines with ice is a bandana. There's nothing special about this bandana. It's not fancy at all. It's just a regular bandana that you can buy. And I'll fill this with ice wrapped around my neck. You guys have seen that in videos before as well. And then the only other things I have in here is a couple backup buffs, and this right here is a little band that goes around your knee for an injury I used to have that don't anymore, but I just always bring it to races anyway because it's so easy to put in a pack, and it can be a lifesaver if that starts going wrong again. Then backup shoes. So this race is a lot of roads, and the trails aren't even really that bad, so I am bringing a pair of road shoes. These are the New Balance Super Comp, the Fuel Cell Super Comp. These are some outstanding road shoes. I really love them. I would run the whole 100 miles in these if I could, probably, if it was going to be super dry. But I do have a feeling that it's going to be a little bit wet out there, so that's why I'm starting in trail shoes. And then my backup trail shoes, if it gets really bad and nasty out there, are the Nike Zagamas. This is a little bit more similar to the Saucony shoes I'm going to start in, so that's why I picked these as my backup trail shoes. So that's the clothes and shoes bag. Next up is this thing. This is all my nutrition and gear. So I'm going to try and go through this kind of quick, just to show you guys what you should have backup for a 100-mile race. So this right here is my main headlamp, and it's in this kind of like protective case so it doesn't turn on by itself. This is the Petzl Swift RL, excellent headlamp, really love this a lot. So that'll be my main headlamp. And then I have two backup headlamps because, I mean, I probably don't need two because I've got a crew and I'm sure they'll have backup headlamps, but I just always bring these. It makes me feel better. This is a backup Petzl headlamp, and then this is a new headlamp that I've worn only once, actually, but it was really comfortable when I wore it, and it was super bright. This is made by Phoenix. It's the HM60R. So shout out Phoenix. Thanks for sending this out to me. Backup batteries for these headlamps right here. And then kind of pretty important in my opinion is, for me, this race is going to be this little MP3 player right here. And as you can see, it's super tiny, $30 SanDisk MP3 player, but it holds 8 gigs. And so I just put a bunch of basically like heavy metal on it. The band August Burns Red, if you guys have ever heard of them. That's my favorite stuff to run to right now. Really gets you pumped up. But yeah, it's just a SanDisk clip jam with some cheap like $10 headphones, but they fit really well. So the reason why I'm doing this instead of my phone or something like that is because I don't want to be thinking about anything else other than the task at hand, and having simple devices that you don't care about getting smashed or broken or lost or wet and destroyed, that helps me a lot relax in the moment. And so that's why I'm going to be using just this cheap MP3 player on my daily runs. I'll run with my Apple Watch and stream the music to a pair of AirPods Pro. But in this case, I don't want to be thinking about any of that stuff. I don't want to be worrying about, an $800 watch and a $300 pair of headphones like while I'm in the middle of a race. So this is $40 and I can replace it if I need to. And this is another pair of $10 headphones in case those crap out. Second gear bag. In here is a backup USB battery. This is a GoPro for the crew. I've got this green piece of tape on here so that I just know that we don't get them mixed up anywhere. And then some backup like USB cables in case anything needs to be charged, Garmin cable, micro USB, USB-C, and Lightning. Who knows what you might need to charge in the middle of a race. Probably none of this stuff, hopefully, but I'm bringing it. And also 2 backup GoPro batteries. As you can see, these are all different Ziploc bags because I just reuse Ziploc bags from race to race. Next up, this is my kind of like first aid or repair kit sort of thing. Inside, I've got some Leuco tape and this spray-on tape adhesive. This is basically super glue in aerosol form. It's really awesome. I used to get it on Amazon, but they don't sell it there anymore, so I don't know where you can get it. But it's really great to, if in the middle of a race or any time that you're going to put this kind of tape on. Leuco tape is like almost permanent anyway, but if you really don't want it to come off, you spray your skin with this super glue and then you put the tape on, and it's like never going to come off after that, so you'll be fine. Also in here is a couple like go packs of this Sport Shield blister and chafe prevention and some plastic gloves in case I need to take that with me and apply in the middle of a race. I've got a bag of some Tylenol. From time to time, take Tylenol in the middle of races. And then this is some rock tape, just some strips of it. I've got some instant coffee in case I just really need that. A couple permanent markers. I don't know why I have 2 in there, but whatever. And I've got chapstick and eye drops. So also some backup safety pins. So this is all in here. This is just like a bag that kind of goes with me from race to race. Again, kind of like all 3 of these bags. I just save, keep them around, and they just go with me everywhere, basically. Next up, we've got a towel in the crew box, backup hat in case I need it, baby wipes, very essential. And then I've also got a backup handheld. Oh, this is one thing that wasn't in my hotel bag, but it will be because it's actually in the sink drying right now. But this is the handheld bottle that I'll be using at the start of the race. And then I'll pick this one up out of this at about like 11 o'clock in the morning when I need 2 handhelds, when it gets really hot. And then these are soft flasks for my hydration vest if I do need to switch to a vest. Sunscreen, squirrel's nut butter, and this is Biofreeze. I've only used this like once, but it did end up helping a lot. It's just kind of like cooling. I have a backup like cup that I probably will never use, but it just is in there. And then a pair of scissors for the tape. That's all the gear that's in this box. All right, now these 3 bags right here are nutrition. And again, you might be thinking, geez, that's over the top. And yeah, it might be. But I have different options and different ways I can go in the middle of the race if needed. All right, first up, we're going to be talking about hydration. So I'm going to be starting the race with Tailwind. And I know a lot of you are probably like, what? Tailwind? Where'd that come from? Because if you follow this channel for a while, you know that years ago I used to use Tailwind, and then I kind of got sick of it, and I tried all sorts of other stuff, and I was on tons of other brands for a long time. Well, I came back to Tailwind because what I've been finding out this year, I've been learning a lot about myself and how I react to different hydration products and how what my sweat is like. And we are all very different people. And so looking at what type of hydration works for one person might not be the same thing that works for you. So I found over this last year really that I am a pretty heavy sweater, and also my sweat has a lot of salt in it. And so I am losing a lot of salt, and I need to replace a lot of that during my runs and races. And a lot of times in my races, I get a really upset stomach around mile 30 to 50, somewhere in there, and I usually start puking there. And then a lot of times I just give up on nutrition and hydration altogether, and I just kind of like suffer until the end, and I just kind of like zombie walk until the finish line. Well, I've been really working on that this year, trying to make sure that that does not happen. And one of the things that I've been learning more about is that maybe I just need more salt, more electrolytes in my hydration. So I turn back to Tailwind because Tailwind has some of the highest sodium levels in any of the sports drinks, where you can just like grab a pack and go. And actually the company that I have to give credit to for helping me figure this out is Drip Drop. And so shout out to Drip Drop, because if you guys hadn't sent me this stuff, I don't know if I ever would have figured this out. What these little packets are is basically just 330 milligrams of sodium per pack, and you just dump them into whatever drink you already have. And I started doing that. I started dumping them in with my Morton and with some other drinks that I was testing, and I found that I always felt a lot better when I had this in there. I'll still be using Drip Drop a lot during this race probably, but starting to keep it simple, we're just going with the Tailwind because it already has a lot, and it actually has a lot more sodium. Each of these packets is 200 calories, 50 carbs, and 630 milligrams of sodium. So that is a big punch of a lot of stuff in one pack, and so that's why I've been really loving this Tailwind. The other thing I really like a lot is this Science and Sport Beta Fuel. And this is not the same as Tailwind because it doesn't have the high concentration of electrolytes, but it has a ton of carbs in each packet. And so this is one thing that I'm going to be moving towards when I start slowing down a little bit, especially during the night when I stop sweating as much. I'll probably move a little bit away from Tailwind and move a little bit closer to this Science and Sport Beta Fuel. And then also I just have these two options in here in case one isn't working. I can keep switching back and forth and finding the one that is working in that moment. And I'll also have this Drip Drop that even if I really can't get much down, I'll still be able to get sodium down, get electrolytes in, because I'll be able to at least throw this in water and drink it. The other electrolyte product that I have been using a lot and loving is this Precision Hydration 1500. This is more than double the amount of electrolytes as in one pack of Tailwind in one little effervescent tab. So this is awesome, and this is like if I really, in the middle of the day, if I'm just dying out there, pop one of these in some water, chug it, and then it's like the lights turn back on and everything is like back online. This is amazing stuff right here. Now, as far as fuel for gels and everything, that's where I've also been turning to Science and Sport a lot this year. And I've been going with these two gels, have been my favorite. This is the Go Energy, so this has got a punch of electrolytes in it. And this is just the SIS Beta Fuel. And this is the same carbohydrate ratio of maltodextrin to fructose as in the Beta Fuel that I'll be drinking probably later on in the race. So these gels are going to be great. And if I don't need that punch of electrolytes, I'll be going for a gel like this. Also, just the taste difference is great. This is salted strawberry, and this is strawberry and lime. I've got a lot more gels than I'm going to use. We always bring back a ton more gels than we actually use in races, but I've just got enough that whichever direction my nutrition takes during the race, I'll have enough to get through it. And this one right here, this is my caffeine bag. So all these gels are also Science and Sport gels, and they have caffeine in them, 75 milligrams of caffeine. So once I start needing that, I'm going to be switching over to this. And I've also played around with these. This also Precision Fuel, same company that makes these tabs. And these have 100 milligrams of caffeine in them, and they're very light taste, so those are pretty good too. Then I've got some Morton Solid bars. These are super easy to get down and really great in the middle of a run. The last thing is these Beta Fuel chews. So this, again, same carb ratio as in the Beta Fuel drink and gels. So these sport chews are going to be awesome during the race. And with that, we are done with the nutrition and gear. One last thing that I did want to talk about is the watch. Of course, what watch are you wearing, Ryan? All right, so I have a couple options here. What I'm wearing on my wrist right now is the Garmin Forerunner 965, and this is probably the watch that I'm going to be wearing during the race. But I also have the option of going with the Fenix 7. Now, I'm going with Garmin because that's just kind of like my race watch brand that I've been going with recently. But I just got the 965 and have really been loving the OLED display. I really love how light it is as well. Garmin kind of estimates this watch to be, the battery life to be around 22 to 28 hours, depending on what settings you have on, and that's with the most basic GPS available. Well, my first test with this watch with some pretty conservative settings, most basic GPS, but then also having the OLED display always on, so things that I knew I wanted during the race, it lasted 44 hours for me, and that was me wearing it. So that was, the heart rate monitor was on, motion was being recorded, I was driving around doing different stuff, I was going on walks, going on runs, it lasted 44 hours. And then this one, I put it on the GPS all systems, so more accurate GPS, but it's supposed to drain battery faster, and it is draining the battery faster, but we're about to cross over 28 hours of this watch recording my activity. And I've also got the Pace Pro plan on, I've got navigation on, so it's doing a lot, and it's lasting much longer than they say that it's supposed to. So I don't know, we'll save that all for, I'll probably do like a video after the race to see how it did for a 100-miler. But so far, it's pretty surprising like what it's doing, and it's kind of been blowing my mind. You know, it's not the best watch that's out there as far as battery life. The Phoenix 7 could last a lot longer, but the Phoenix 7 is slightly heavier, and the screen is just not nearly as vivid and bright as this one, or as big, and you know, I kind of just want to wear this one. So this is most likely the watch I'm going to wear during the race, unless something crazy happens in between now and then. So that's kind of all the gear, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. Next up, I'm going to talk about how my training has been over the last couple weeks leading into this race, what kind of interventions I've been taking, strategies, what extra things have I been doing outside of just running. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about my strategy for this race and what it's going to be like having a crew, in my opinion, like what I'm communicating to them as far as what I need, what my goals are for the Burning River 100. Okay, so I started filming this next part outside, but it is so incredibly hot that by the time I set up the tripod and the camera and sat down, I was like sweating buckets. So I moved inside to finish this video up. So first up, training leading up to this race obviously has been private on Strava, but it's been pretty good. Starting pretty much back in like March, I started building up for the summer, and kind of like by the end of June, I was hitting 65, 70-mile weeks pretty consistently, so I was feeling really good about that. But then it's like always happens to me. So 3 weeks ago, I was coming into what was going to be one of my peak weeks, because I've been hitting 65, 70 miles, and I was going to go for about 75 and then do a 2-week taper. But my Saturday run that was going to be 30 miles, I stopped at 20 because my calf didn't loosen up for about the first 10 miles. And so I was like, okay, that's kind of concerning. Like maybe I should address this by actually resting. So that was 3 weeks ago. So I decided to do a 3-week taper instead, and kind of like did some runs here and there, but it was kind of like a really like aggressive taper, much more resting than I would have wanted. But you know, it still was a taper. You know, still 3 weeks. It wasn't like 4, 5, 6 weeks. So I think the calf is going to be good to go this weekend, because my last couple runs, it has loosened up after about a mile or two, and it hasn't really caused a whole lot of pain in this last week. But I've been doing a lot of work on it, foam rolling, stretching. I went to the chiropractor. He like straightened me up and everything. And it's, you know, it's just going to come down to what happens on race day. And so now let's talk about my strategy for the race. So this race, the Burning River 100, is going to be one of those races where a lot of people try to get a PR on, because there is 70 miles of trails, but it's pretty tame trails, not a whole lot of vertical gain. There's only 8,000 feet of vertical gain throughout the whole course. So that's like, you're not going to really feel that much at all. And then 30 miles of that is actual pavement, more like bike trails or even some roads. Can possibly be a pretty fast race. So what I'm going to do is, I feel like I've got it in me to pace the first half at about 10 hours. So like trying to hit the turnaround at 10 hours, so that would be 12-minute miles. That doesn't, I mean, when you say that like that, it doesn't sound like it's that fast, but that is faster than I've ever paced 100 from the beginning. So we're going to go out, try to hit the turnaround at 10 hours, and then try to be back to the finish in 14 hours, giving me a sub 24. So that's the goal. I'm putting it out there. This is the race where I think it is actually possible to get sub 24. And in order to do that, I'm going to be pretty strategic in how I go about this. This is the runner's packet on my screen behind me, and I've got the website Ultra Pacer net up, and I'm going through looking at all of the like vertical gain and descent in between each aid station, and I'm putting together a plan that I can load onto my Garmin 965, which I actually don't have that on right now. I'm wearing this Polar watch because I just got back from the sauna, which I'll talk about in a second. But I'm going to be loading that onto my Garmin 965 and then use the Pace Pro feature with the course on there. So it's going to have each aid station listed, and I'm going to have a page on my Garmin that tells me how many miles away from each aid station. So that's going to be really handy. But then also, as long as I can, I'm going to be trying to follow this Pace Pro plan that gives you like exactly what pace you should be hitting for every mile as it comes about. The one thing I don't like about Pace Pro is if you start going off track a little bit, or if it thinks you're off track, the Pace Pro plan completely falls apart and it just starts recording you as like 0. So in that case, if that does happen, like if the GPX file isn't exactly right, I'm just going to have to cancel it during the race and then go based off of kind of like trying to get those sub 12-minute miles. So then rewinding a little bit and talking about some of the interventions I've been taking. So the biggest one has been the sauna, and I have been putting a lot of time in the sauna. I've been doing a 6-week plan that was put out by Jason Koop. He looked at a lot of the athletes that did the Tokyo Olympics a couple years ago and kind of put together a protocol that kind of like mixes the best of all of their plans. And so it's 6 weeks of sauna sessions, and it's pretty intense, like 10 days in a row at the beginning, 10 days in a row at the end, and then in the middle it's about every 2 or 3 days. And you're trying to go 20 to 30 minutes. Pretty much all of my sessions recently have been 30-minute sessions. Today I actually did my last sauna session, and it felt pretty good. I'm actually really enjoy the sauna now. At first it was like really uncomfortable. After 5 minutes I was like kind of dying to get out, because the sauna we have here is 150 degrees. It's a dry wood sauna, so that's pretty hot. I mean, you're sweating instantly as soon as you walk in. But yeah, it was really great, and I really loved doing this sauna training because this race is going to be really hot. The forecast right now is calling for the day before to be like 95, and then the day of to be about 85, and some thunder showers throughout the day. But that could realistically shift a little bit. If those thunderstorms don't come, I could see it hitting the 90s again on Saturday for race day. So I'm really happy that I've been putting in all this sauna work. And what that does is it just kind of like trains your core to be able to handle those types of temperatures, and just gets you a little bit more used to it so that the alarm bells don't start going off as early as they would have had you not been doing these sauna sessions. So that's been really great. I've also been training very specifically with my nutrition and taking exactly what I'm going to be taking during the race, during all of my runs. I've been carrying a handheld bottle on every run as well, so I think that's really important to get really specific. That's one of the things that I kind of have always not done very well. But this race, I've been very specific, and for about the last 8 weeks, I've been taking the same nutrition on every single run, and I've been testing out like what's too much, what's not enough, how many electrolytes do I need. Through this process, I've also found out that I am apparently a very heavy sweater with a high salt content in my sweat. And so I need a lot more electrolytes than other people do. And so that is probably why a lot of these nutrition products that I've tried in the past have just not really worked for me, because they're just too low in that electrolyte content, especially during hot races and hot runs. So as I've been doing my testing, I've found some products, as we've talked about before, that are a lot higher in electrolyte content, and even some products that's just like a shot of electrolytes, like just instantly into your system. So that's really been helping out a lot, and I have a feeling that this is going to really help me when I get to that like 30, 40, 50 mile mark, where I usually like start having an upset stomach and frequently puke during 100 milers, right around that period. A lot of times in the past, I get to that 30, 40, 50 miles and I start puking, and then I just kind of give up on my whole nutrition plan and hydration plan, and I just go straight off aid stations, and it kind of turns into a disaster because it's just I'm hiking in between aid stations and then eating as much as I can there and then hiking to the next one, and it just like everything falls apart. Sauna training, nutrition training, hydration, electrolytes, all of that. I really feel like this could possibly be the one race that I have the most put together plan. And on top of all of that, I have an amazing crew that's going to come out and crew me. I've got my good friends Matt and Brittany, and then a guy I just met named Andrew, met through the internet. He's going to pace me for 16 miles starting at the turnaround, and then Brittany and Matt are going to pace me after that. So I'll have pacers for the last 50 miles. Then on top of that, I'll be supported by Chaos Crewing Company, who is kind of a new company on the scene, helping friends and family members learn how to crew runners, you know, and even people that have crewed a lot before. Like, there's a lot of ins and outs that might be something that you kind of have to learn along the way. Well, this Chaos Crewing Company is going to come in and help you learn all of that stuff right up front. So they're going to be helping me out a lot, which is awesome. So I'm going to have super experienced people in my corner helping me with this race. I feel like my training and my preparation has put me in a place to have a really solid race, given, you know, it still is 100 miles. Like, anything can happen. You know, like, I typically don't do very well in the heat, and so that's why I've been doing all of this sauna intervention. My nutrition typically goes out the window like halfway through a race, and especially in hot races. So that's why I've been training so much with my nutrition and hydration. And then also, I typically don't have crews or pacers for 100 milers, and so I've got that for this race to help me keep going and not stop and sit at aid station for 20 or 30 minutes and just feel sorry for myself. So I am all packed and ready to go. I'm going to jump in the Jeep and drive over to Ohio and sit in a hotel tonight, tomorrow, relax, keep my feet up, probably be editing this video tomorrow, and then go to bed super early on Friday night, because I'm going to be waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday to get to the start line by 4 o'clock for the start. I actually have to get to the start line at like 3:30, but like the start of the race is 4 o'clock. I don't think there's actual live tracking on a website for this race, other than this one company that's doing it where you have to carry your phone the whole time, and I'm not going to be doing that. So I don't know if there's going to be tracking. You guys can check the website as it starts and see if that has anything on there, but so far, I don't think there's any tracking. But definitely follow me on Instagram and Threads and Twitter, or X. And I'll be posting all the way up to the race to give you guys a behind-the-scenes look into how my weekend is going. And then I am sure that like Chaos Crewing Company is going to be posting the whole time as well, so follow them as well. If any of you guys are going to be at the race, definitely say hi. This is going to be a fun weekend. The Burning River 100. It's going to be hot. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fast. Let's go.